Imagine sending out 500 plus looms and hundreds of others of emails and countless other outreach and touch points on different social platforms, and not getting a client for 8 months. And that is the story you're going to see today with Angela. And yeah, I just think you're going to watch this interview and you're going to have a smile on your face. Everything from what she's done for her mom. And really just, I think there's something to be said about her tenacity and I don't know, just that relentless spirit that all entrepreneurs have. So with no further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and roll this interview. Stick around if you are looking to if you're still struggling to get your first or second client. This is gonna be some insane motivation for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another student interview. We are here with Angela today, and I'm super excited to share her story because, I mean, fuck. There's certain people in the community who I just look at and I just have so much respect for because of their tenacity. I'm remembering Josh, who I interviewed probably a couple months back. He went 18 months without signing a client and then eventually signed one. And then within 30 days hit $7,000 from his agency. So I vividly remember you coming to the live Q&A calls and me just having us just having to flesh out what you were doing with your agency. And first of all, the other thing that I had so much respect for was, I swear, with the time zone difference, the Q&A calls were like 3 a.m. your time.
In Philippines.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, I'm blabbering on. So you want to introduce yourself and share a little bit more about you and your journey?
Hey, I am Angela. Well, let's look at the camera when I talk. Or
yeah.
Fine?
whatever you want.
Hey, I'm Angela, and I am a 20-year-old college dropout. I dropped out of college before I even signed my first client. So that was a major move. And I literally went through a lot. It's definitely a lot. I sent over 500 plus looms, 800 plus messages. I messaged every big influencer that you can think of, from Tom Bilyeu to Neil Donald Walsh to like literally to Lewis House to like every single big name out there. I messaged, and I got on a call with a few of the people I messaged, never closed any one of them. And I was pitching Facebook ads at the time, which, to be honest, I was not at all interested in Facebook ads. I think I had the wrong mentality there, in a way that I was thinking like, oh, Iman gets paid this much, so like I could get paid that much too without doing a lot of work. But in reality, I was not really interested in like all the numbers and all that. My strong suit has always been content creation, because when I was 12 years old, I had a blog on Tumblr that had over like 65,000 plus followers. I was just creating content as a clueless 12-year-old. And that was my strong suit. But because I wanted like the easy, chill agency life, I decided I would probably pitch Facebook ads instead. But I was out of my zone of genius, and so that did not really work out.
Yeah, I love you mentioned that because I think a lot of people are, and I feel as though when I say it, it almost sounds contrived. I'm like, no, guys, like I swear, don't do e-commerce, don't do info product businesses when you first start, or if you don't have to do Facebook advertising. I feel as though some people are like, oh no, you're just trying to, like, there's some like weird conspiracy theorists out there who are like, oh, that's just because you don't want competition. And I'm like, no, it's because genuinely, the company is called GrowYourAgency.com. We have people in there making $40,000 a month doing graphic design work, web design work. We've got people doing $100K a month with Facebook ads. We've got people doing $100K a month exclusively with just Google advertising. So like, you can make whatever. Like I got to $20,000 a month initially with a creative agency. Like that was where my roots come from. So I love that. And the second fact is you've bounced around with a couple different niches. You want to talk about your journey there?
Yeah. So I originally was in the personal development space because I love that. And that's where I messaged every single name. I even like went on the Impact Theory YouTube channel, and I DM'd everyone there. And so that didn't really work out. And then I decided, oh, maybe like, oh, now I love going to hotels and like I'm visiting hotels more often. Why not try that niche out? So I did. Before New Year's this year, I was messaging family owned hotels in the Philippines. But the problem was, A, again, I was not in my zone of genius, and B, not a lot of them were actually making a lot of money for me to be able to like charge the amount that I wanted. So when it was time for me to fly to Saudi Arabia, I was like, okay, great, people have more money here. They should be willing and able to pay more. So I went on meetings where literally I was speaking with Arabic speaking people, and I could not speak a word of Arabic ever at all. Maybe like just a little bit for me to like survive. But like conversation wise, that's where I brought my mom in as a business partner for that niche so that she could translate, and we ended up signing 0 clients for that niche.
Yeah, so maybe you want to touch on how the hell you ended up in Saudi Arabia and the entire story behind that, and the entire story behind dropping out of college before you signed a client and this and that.
All right. So this is hilarious. I don't even know if I should get into this. Okay. So basically, when I was in college, I was literally miserable. I had teachers bashing me because they knew I was smart, but I would literally just leave if I'm not interested, and they'd talk shit about me after I left to everyone in the classroom, and I'd always be like, I don't give a shit. And in September, like I had a fight with my dad where he was just ballistic, he was livid, and he pretty much disowned me. He's like, don't come to my funeral, you're not my daughter. And I lost his support financially. Like the only reason that I went to college anyway was to keep my parents happy. And I've always like asked him like, hey, you know, like I don't really need this, like I'm not really interested in this, but they made me go. So I'm like, okay, I'm like living under your roof, so your rules, whatever. And when he got mad, he just cut me off and he stopped paying for my tuition. And I viewed that as like my biggest opportunity to get out of college. And my mom freaked out. She really freaked out. She was like, you're throwing away this big opportunity. Not everyone gets to go to college. You're getting it for free. Your dad's paying. And she was livid at first, but then she asked me if I wanted to come to Saudi Arabia just so I wouldn't be stagnant. Because I'm like, now I'm a college dropout doing what? God knows what. And I viewed that as like a way for me to get to know my mom better, because she's been a single mom like your mom for over a decade before my dad came in to support us. And so she's been here hustling her ass out. And I just figured out I wanted to get to know her better, and I wanted to retire her from the pharmacy. So that's how I ended up here.
So, guys, there's some sort of happy ending to the story, by the way. So, I think it's a week ago now at this point, a couple weeks ago, that you signed your first client ever. You want to touch on that?
Yeah. So I was panicking about the fact that I owe my mom over $1,000 because she flew me in Saudi Arabia. I was broke before I even signed my first client, just literally broke, because I stopped doing my other businesses because I decided I'll just focus on growing my agency. And so she flew me in. 3 months in here, I was like, shit, I don't have money to fly back to the Philippines. What the hell do I do? And so amidst that panic, COVID hit too. And I was like, so I can't sign hotel clients now. And I'm sure you remember this on the call. I was like asking you, Iman, do I pivot my niche is like the hotel industry. And he told me to pivot. So I did. And with that, I just went to this one website and to this one service that I knew I would kick ass at, that I never went into in the first place before when I first started. So I signed my first client. It was actually just a $200 per month one. I know you would be like, sardines. And I think I signed 3 sardines before I finally landed my first $3,000 client. And within the span of like 2-3 weeks, I made over 3.7K in revenue after 8 months of no client.
So after 8 months, finally making $3,700. Of that, what's your take home? Like, do you have a lot of expenses for that?
2,300 for the first ones, yeah, because Upwork does take 20% per client, and also because I'm growing my team. What I really want to make sure of is like the work doesn't end, and it's not the finish line after you've signed your client. Now what keeps you up at night is like, how do I keep them? Because I don't want to just keep on onboarding clients, and I would much rather keep the one that I have that pays more.
Exactly. So understood. Do you have a 3-month minimum in place?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That always is a sigh of relief when I hear that. For me, like the 2 things, obviously I understand that you can use Stripe, and we talked about this off camera. So, I mean, in either way, Upwork holds it as escrow, but nonetheless, the 2 things that I have a sigh of relief when I hear is when when one of the students has signed a client, and it isn't, I mean, and this is 99% of the case, because I continuously drill into people 3-month minimum, at least 3-month minimum. And then the second thing is when they have their card on file and they've got set them to auto billing. When I find that out, then I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, I don't have to be worried for them. Okay, so that's good. That's good.
The payment's not an escrow anymore. I literally got it.
It's cleared. It's cleared.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So was that weird for you?
I was trying to like act super duper calm. Like, okay, let's just get this settled before our first meeting. And they were a hot lead. They actually liked me, and they liked what I had to offer them. So what happened was I also I made sure that they approved it and everything. And I was completely clear. I told them, we're not going to start anything. We're not going to have the meeting unless we get the payment. And they're like on board with that. So that's what happened. One thing I want to touch on as well, hold that thought, Iman, is I broke a lot of rules to get here. A lot of your rules, I broke them.
Well, I mean, that's what's awesome. That's why I like these student interviews, because it's like, I know a lot of people will take 70, 80, 90% of what I say, and then the rest of it, they'll run with it and they'll do their own thing. And then I'll also have people who like, I feel as though there's a lot of fundamental stuff that if someone tries to test me on, or if someone tries to go away from, they'll always fail. Like there's certain things like continuously I've seen free trials. It's like, I've never had someone go out, try free trials and come back to me and be like, oh no, you were wrong. Or having some sort of minimum in place, a 3-month minimum, 6-month minimum, having a client's card on file. Obviously I understand in this situation you can, but there's certain foundational stuff. There's the core stuff where, as I said, I've had tons of people try and do their own thing and they always come back to me and they're like, okay, we probably should listen to someone who's coming up to 4 years as an agency owner. But then the other stuff that's kind of less of the non-negotiable stuff, the stuff that you can test and try and do your own thing with. That's why I love these student interviews, because you get to see like what is working for other people, and what have they done differently from the sort of path that I like to lay out. So you want to touch on that a little more?
Yeah. So when I panicked during COVID, I messaged almost 100 influencers saying I'd do free shit for them and I'd eat shit for them if they gave me a shot to prove myself. So I signed one from there. who is a best-selling author and a 2-time Pulitzer Prize nominee, which I'm working with right now, completely free. So I'm working with Stephen Kotler and his company. So what I did there was I pretty much leveraged that because he's a pretty big celebrity. And I was just, when people asked me who I was working with and when they asked for samples, I just sent the work that I did for Steven and his company to potential clients. And I also sent a proposal that worked because I was not in contact directly with the YouTuber herself. I was in contact with a team. And so I just wanted to be prepared, made sure everything was transparent and clear and laid out. And then I signed the 3K after that.
All right, boom. So surely there must have been some point in which you want to quit. Because I know there's some people watching this who have done 100, 200 cold calls. They've sent out 100 looms. They've done this, et cetera, and they still have yet to have any success. You sent out, 500 looms, did however many cold emails, cold calls until you actually managed to sign some clients. So surely there must have been some point where you were like, all right, maybe it wasn't the right path to go in life.
Exactly. There was. Because in my previous businesses, like when you get success before you get into something new, you're always going to think that like, okay, I've been successful in these other endeavors. Like there's no way that I'm not going to be successful here. And then wherein there's like a time lag in between, because in my previous businesses, I was just like making money like that. When I got in here, I'm like, okay, I'm a smart person. Like, is there something wrong I'm doing? Like, why is there nothing? And add to that the fact that there was one client, potential client, that we drove 4 hours for, so that we'd sign him and his hotel, and he canceled when we got to the place. And that moment I literally just like wanted to cry. Like I just wanted to cry. I was just holding it in. I was like, I remember asking my mom, we were in a cheaper hotel. I was like asking her like, what do I do? He canceled. And she just told me, you call other hotels. And that's what we did. We cold called on the spot and we signed another meeting right then and there, but we didn't close anyone. But at that time I was like thinking like, maybe this is not for me, like maybe like it's not my time yet, or maybe this is not the right business model for me. Like maybe I never thought I didn't have what it takes, but maybe I thought like I'm just not ready at some point, because like I was used to getting immediate results, and it's 6, 7, 8 months and nothing.
Yeah, I mean that I can imagine that was extremely, extremely tough. But my one thing that I will say is, and this is why I keep saying you need a business where you can fail for 8 months, you can fail for 3 months, you can fail for even 12 months, and you don't have this blood sucking like monthly cost gnawing at your feet, and you don't have a situation where, like, coming from someone who has their own e-commerce clothing line, like I just sent well over 5 figures for stock for the first batch for season 2 of Gadzhi. What happened? 3 days later, factory 1 closed down for 4 weeks. What happened the next week? Factory 2 closed down for another 4 weeks. So, and either way, usually it's a 4 to 8 week turnaround time once we have that final prototype. So my point is, either way, it's 1 to 2 months before I see all that money back. Now, in this instance, it's probably going to be like 2 to 4 months. So for me, I'm fine because I got my agency, my cash flow business. For someone who's just getting started and just bought some stock on Amazon FBA, and it's sitting there and they're kind of a bit fucked, it can be very, very daunting. That's why I said, you need that business where you can have almost training wheels for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, where it's it's not this crippling monthly cost associated to running it, and you can run it very lean. And when that big day comes, where that 3,000 a month retainer comes, like that's by far a livable income. Like, do you also want to touch on, let's say you ended up getting that college degree after 10 years, if you had kind of followed the path, how much would you be making a month?
Okay, so what I feel like is the way for me to be able to really provide value on this call is I recorded parts of my journey where I felt like crying. I was in the car with my mom and we were getting rejected. And that morning when I finally signed my first client. So that journey I'm going to be uploading to my YouTube channel. So people can watch the video there. You can link my channel if you want to.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, I'll link the channel. If I forget, someone just remind me in the comments, please.
all right. So I just want to make sure that people don't quit. Can you repeat your question? I lost my train of thought there.
Yeah. So, because you know, obviously you were studying in the Philippines. I
My
don't.
college degree.
Yeah, yeah. I'm assuming you wouldn't get paid as much in the Philippines as you would in the
No.
US. So let's say you finish college with the degree that you had, and if things went well, because I mean, even in the US, out of college, even if you have a marketing degree, you're still only going to be some shitty intern for getting paid $2,000 a month and working 40 or 50 hours a week, and that's even in the US. So in the Philippines, if you had followed the path that your parents wanted you to follow, how much would you estimate that you'd be making from a job within 5 or 10 years?
This is actually funny because my dad actually bribed me with a car. He was like, I'm going to buy you a car if you get this degree. And I'm like, nope. I would probably be making $1,000 at 27, and that would be considered good. And literally, that's even in Manila. Like, Iman, you need to understand the income disparity between Davao, which that's where I'm from, and Manila. Like in Davao, you're $10 a day. That's huge. It's not people's minimum wage even.
Jesus.
So
So out of curiosity, have you told, I mean, I'm assuming are you and your dad still in communication? Have you told them, hey, the business is doing $3,700 a month now?
no, no, he's funny because like the last time because I keep on wanting to like invest in myself in personal development and everything, and he never wants me to go. Like I'm like, okay, I'll just travel, I'll pay for myself, and I've done that. But he's always like, yeah, and how many seminars have you done? How many courses have you taken? Like, are you prosperous now? And it's always like because I didn't have results yet. It's always like rubbing salt in my wounds.
Mm.
But no, I'm not telling him. I don't want to brag. I just want to keep my clients and be like low key.
Okay, well, obviously your mom knows. What does your mom think of it?
My mom knows, and she's like, no. The first time I was like signing sardines as clients, she's like, what? Because I was getting them like at least I was getting one new client at
By the
every
way,
other day.
I love how this is a thing now. Like I've heard sardines thrown around because we have fish, shark, and whale clients, but like now we got a new category. We got sardines.
Yeah. So for those people who don't yet know, a fish is a client that's like 1,000 and above, and sardines are like the little ones that are like paying you less than 1,000. So I was signing smaller clients at every other day, and she was like, "What the hell are you doing? Is that black magic?" And so, what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna teach her so that she can choose if she wants to have an agency or if she still wants to teach online because teaching is her passion. She's a pharmacist by profession, but she teaches English here in Saudi Arabia part time. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to teach her how to have an agency and let her like do her own stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So
And
what is sorry, you were saying?
her and it's what she told me when she like this is what happened when I signed my $3,000 client. It was 3 a.m. and my heart was pounding. I just woke up all of a sudden. My heart was pounding. I knew I would be the one they'd sign. Like I just knew it. And so I grabbed my phone. I get the message, Angela, we've decided to move forward with you. And I was just screaming. And we ended up just like I ended up waking her up, and we were just hugging each other because I finally signed a client. And when she learned that after I got the payment, she was like, okay, the only thing you're gonna be buying is a MacBook, okay? And then the rest we're gonna be investing. And I'm like, okay. She's very supportive.
That's amazing. So what does the rest of 2020 look like for you?
I want to make at least $60,000 profit, but I'm not sure how to get there yet. One thing that's really like is my hope basically is I've already made 3,700. Like there's no way that I'm not making more. Keeping my clients. So instead of focusing on the revenue or how much profit I'm gonna be making, I'm first gonna focus on keeping them and spending however much I have to do that, because as you know, onboarding is always a pain in the ass. And it's better to just keep clients who pay more and build a solid reputation off of that. So 2020 is more business building. Also, I want to retire my mom from working in the pharmacy, hopefully by December.
That's amazing. Well, ladies and gents, if you can remind me to drop Angela's YouTube channel and make sure you have this will probably go, I mean, I'm kind of backdated at the moment. So from the time we're recording this, I think this will go out in like 3-4 weeks. So that gives you plenty of time to drop those videos on the YouTube channel. I think people would love to see those. And yeah, apart from that, like I've just been starstruck at every single juncture in this interview. So just want to thank you for your time and sharing your story.
Thanks, Iman.